Hi students, Sairam. So welcome back to the second chapter from your social and political life, which is diversity and discrimination. In diversity and discrimination, I spoke to you about stereotypes and prejudice. And what is prejudice? I told you wrong judgment about other people, a negative type of judgment on other people. And the stereotype is we put certain people in certain category and then we expect them to behave that way according to what we think they are supposed to do in certain groups. So now and for that I had also given you some homework, that is to write down the first word that comes to your mind when you hear each of these words. You have to write down these words in a sheet of paper, and against that you have to write down the first thought that comes to your mind when you hear these words. Now examples, the words that I had given you were villager. What thought comes to your mind first? Don't go to think much, you just write down the first thought that comes to your mind. City dweller, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, Indian, American, Chinese, working mother, Dalit, shopkeeper, brother, sister. It was very simple. It's nice to see how we think about others. You only will see, and when you submit, I will see. That's all. So don't feel shy or don't feel bad. What will the teacher think? What will others think? No, nobody will think anything. You just write down. It's an activity for you. So just freely write them down. So now we will go back to the chapter 2, that is on diversity and discrimination. Okay, and we are continuing the chapter. The next part of the chapter is continuation of that, is inequality and discrimination. So what is inequality and what is discrimination and how discrimination takes place? It happens when people act on their prejudices or stereotypes, and I had already explained to you what is prejudice and what is stereotypes. It's all in your mind. Okay, it's all within you, but the moment you act upon those thoughts, then that becomes discrimination. How you discriminate people? If you do something to put other people down, you put them down, you laugh at them and put them down, or if you stop them from taking part in certain activities, there are people doing that, certain activities. You won't allow others to be part of certain activities and taking up certain jobs, or stop them from living in certain neighborhoods, prevent them from taking water from the same well or from hand pump, or not allow them to drink tea in the same cups or glasses as others. You are discriminating them. You are putting them down. You are separating them. So discrimination can take place because of several reasons. It can be religion. Religion actually is a beautiful diversity. Diversity brings beauty. I told you different religions really brings lot of diversity, but these beautiful diversity, this beautiful thing can also bring, it can also be a source of discrimination. But how? If we don't accept the people as they are, it becomes a source of discrimination. Otherwise, it is a beautiful thing. Groups of people who may speak certain languages, we may discriminate them, or we may keep them apart, or some following particular religion, or some living in a particular regions, are all discriminated according to their customs, according to their practices. We look upon them and we consider them as inferior, which is not correct. Again, I tell you, which is not right, but this is happening even now. So when we express the feeling of prejudice, the prejudice mind that we have, the wrong judgment that we have about others, so when we express that in action, meaning to say when we act accordingly, according to what we are thinking, it is called discrimination. There are many examples. So for example, one example I tell you, many people view the person who collects their garbage with prejudice, with a different negative mentality. Many people view that. Very few talk to them and give them something and treat them well. Very, very few. They are seen as dirty and polluting. It is just opposite. Actually, they are cleaning our area by taking away the garbage. Okay, but we see them just opposite. While they would invite their friends home for a meal, they would not even consider letting the garbage collector drink a glass of water from their house. This is an act of discrimination born out of the feeling of prejudice. It's not real, it's only our prejudice. Mind tells us to do that. They have against people who do dirty jobs, so-called dirty jobs. It's not a dirty job, but we consider that job as dirty job. People can be discriminated against on the basis of color, fair and dark, white and black, they say, isn't it? Caste, high caste and low caste, race, religion, gender, ability, according to the ability. So people can be discriminated in many ways. Many ways. So here there is another example how people discriminate each other, whether the rich and the poor, isn't it? It is very, very clear in the present day world, isn't it? So how the rich are treated and accepted by the people, and how the poor are ill treated by the people. And this also is called as inequality. The rich and poor, it's again is a form of a diversity, but it is also called inequality because people are the same. Because they have some money, they are treated well, and because the people who have no money, they are treated badly. So that becomes inequality. People who are poor do not have the resources of money to meet their basic needs of food, clothing and shelter. They experience discrimination in offices, in hospitals, in schools, and everywhere. They experience discrimination. So they are treated badly because they are poor, and the rich are treated well because they have money and they are rich. So some people may experience both kinds of discrimination. They are poor and they are being in groups of whose culture is not valued, meaning to say a little tribals and low caste and different kind of different religious groups or some particular regions. So some will experience both because they are poor or inequality, and also discrimination because of their caste and religion or language or region, whatever, both. Some experience only discrimination, some experience both inequality and discrimination. Okay, so both the ways this happens, which is again I tell you is not correct. Okay, discrimination now on the basis of color, we said, isn't it so? Dark and fair. We may say no, I like dark color, I like dark color. So now you see, many places in India people have a prejudice against people with dark skin. We prefer people with fair skin, isn't it so? You have an example for this. Great example, one very, very clear example for this. So what is it? The number of fairness creams in the market, and we look for that fairness cream for what? So that we may look fair. What is the meaning of that? Meaning to say that we don't appreciate dark color, isn't it? And whoever comes, a dark person comes, first thing is a little bit of unfair remarks or suddenly, and then slowly may become friends according to their friendliness, or we may change later, but first reaction is like that. So the number of fairness creams that are sold in the market is a very silent proof of the discrimination, people born with dark skin face, which means we don't appreciate quietly. We are not telling that we don't, but we are expressing that. Be it in the school, at workplace, or in marriages, discrimination takes place because of this prejudice for fair skin. Then there is a discrimination which on the basis of caste, which I had spoken to you earlier also in the previous chapter, a little bit about this. A hierarchical system that originated in the distant past. Oh, long, long ago, this had originated. It was not there. Okay. So it differentiated between people on the basis of superiority and inferiority. What is superiority and what is inferiority? Nothing of this was there, but people created this, a kind of hierarchical system. People created. Okay. Now, what is this superiority and inferiority? It is actually in the caste system, communities or groups of people were placed a sort of ladder. You know what is ladder? Where each caste was either above or below the other. So one will be on top, and then comes the, according to the steps, and the lowest will be the least. And so you have a ladder. So you have upper ladder, and so themselves as superior, those who are in the upper ladder, and then as they come down they becomes more inferior, and the last becomes untouchables. So the groups who were placed at the bottom of the ladder were seen as unworthy and called as untouchables. These are all man-made groups. Nothing of this was made by God. It was man-made groups. Okay, untouchables. Caste rules were set which did not allow the so-called untouchable to take on some particular work other than what they were meant to do. For example, some groups were forced to pick up garbage or remove dead animals from the village, but they were not allowed to enter the homes of the upper caste or take water from the village well or even enter the temples. Just imagine, they couldn't even enter the temples. Their children could not sit next to the children of the higher caste in the school. So the upper caste acted in ways which did not give the so-called untouchables the same rights as they enjoyed. This is what they were doing. Upper caste and low caste. This is a discrimination on the basis of religion. So this inhuman aspect, which is inhuman, not human, inhuman aspect of the system was the treatment given to those who were considered outcasts and called as untouchables. So, though declared unlawful today, it is declared unlawful today, children. Should not be existing, but it is existing. It is still going on. It is going on certain part of India, though the law tells us not to even then. So it is still practiced in many parts of the country. In fact, even now the so-called untouchables are not allowed even to enter in some places. I have seen that. Some places they are not even allowed to enter the temples, and their presence are considered as polluting. So though science and technology have improved, everything has improved, everyone is educated, but still things are going on. Untouchability is still going on. So our constitution has abolished untouchability, and its practice is a criminal offense. Positive steps the government has taken to provide relief to these people who were considered as outcasts, who now called themselves as Dalits, but in the form of scholarships, reservations in colleges, universities, public sector undertakings, and in government services. All that the opportunities are given, but still this untouchability is going on. And we have a beautiful person who worked against this untouchability. Who is that? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The full name of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Okay. He was an eminent lawyer, a social activist, was chief architect of the Indian Constitution. He was a Dalit. He belonged to the Mahar caste, which was a low caste. So his caste also was considered as untouchables. So till the end of his life, he fought against the prejudices of the caste system and the ill treatment of women, because women also were considered as very, very inferior. So he was the first law minister of the independent India in 1951. He introduced the Hindu Code Bill in Parliament now, which he tried to give women equal rights with regard to the laws of inheritance, marriage, and the economy. He resigned from his post when the bill was not passed. Okay, so he has certain experiences and he shares that, and I would like to read out that experiences exactly as it is. Dr. Ambedkar, one of the greatest leaders of India, shares his experience of caste-based discrimination. Because he himself was a Dalit, he has himself experienced this discrimination. It took in 1901, not one, when he was just 9 years old. He had gone with his brothers and cousins to meet his father in Korgaon, which is now in Maharashtra. So what was the experience? It was this. You can look into your book. It is there on page 19. I am reading as it is. Long did he wait, but no one turned up. An hour elapsed, and the station master came to inquire. He asked us for our tickets. We showed them to him. He asked us why we tarried. We told him that we were bound for Korgaon and that we were waiting for father or his servant to come, but that neither had turned up and that we did not know how to reach Korgaon. We were well-dressed children. From our dresses or talk, no one could make out that we were children of the untouchables. Indeed, the station master was quite sure we were Brahmin children and was extremely touched at the plight in which he found us. As is usual among the Hindus, the station master asked us who we were. Without a moment's thought, I blurted out that we were Mahars. Mahar is one of the communities which were treated as untouchables in the Bombay Presidency. He was stunned. His face now underwent a sudden change. We could see that he was overpowered by a strange feeling of repulsion. As soon as he heard my reply, he went away to his room and we stood where we were. 15 to 20 minutes elapsed. The sun was almost setting. Our father had not turned up, nor had he sent his servant. And now the station master had also left us. We were quite bewildered, and the joy and happiness which we felt at the beginning of the journey gave way to a feeling of extreme sadness. After half an hour, the station master returned and asked us what we proposed to do. We said that if we could get a bullock cart on hire, we could go to Korgaon, and if it was not very far, we would like to start straight away. There were many bullock carts plying for hire, but my reply to the station master that we were Mahars had gone round among the cartmen, and not one of them was prepared to suffer being polluted and to demean himself carrying passengers of untouchable classes. We were prepared to pay double the fare, but we found that money did not work. The station master, who was negotiating on our behalf, stood silent, not knowing what to do. So you can just imagine how much the caste system was in the mind of people, what effect they had. They see only the caste and not the human being, isn't it so? So again, about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So he is considered the father of the Indian Constitution and is also the best known leader of the Dalits. Dr. Ambedkar fought for the rights of the Dalit community. He was born into the Mahar caste, which was considered untouchable. The Mahars were poor, owned no land, and children born to them also had to do the work their parents did. They lived in spaces outside the main village and were not allowed into the village because they were outcasts. Dr. Ambedkar was the first person from his caste who completed his college education and went to inclined to become a lawyer. He encouraged Dalits to send their children to school and college. He also urged Dalits to take on different kinds of government jobs in order to move out of the caste system. He led many efforts of Dalits to gain entry into temples. Later in life, he converted to Buddhism in his search for religion that treated all members equally. Dr. Ambedkar believed that Dalits must fight the caste system and work towards a society based on respect, not just for a few but for all persons. So, this is what Dr. Ambedkar's experience on discrimination. So, we learned about inequality and discrimination, and today this session we are winding up here. And for this, the assignment at the end of this session, as usual, I am giving you very simple again. In addition to the lower caste being discriminated against, there are also various other communities that are subject to discrimination. So now you can think, your work is think of few other examples of discrimination, how people are treated or discriminated, ill-treated. Okay, you just write down who are the other ways. Now here we spoke about the caste, isn't it so? So you can mention some other ways how people are discriminated. So just write down point wise, few points, 1 or 2 points. If you have more, you can write more. If you don't have more, at least 1 or 2 minimum you must write. So that is your homework. So keep well, children. All the best. God bless you.